Sports talk will never be the same again.
Seriously, Jeb, stop laughing.
I mean, have you heard this guy?
This is the Raw Mike Richards Show, brought to you by Cassock Wealth Management, CIBC Wood Gundy, on Sportsnet 960 The Fan.
Welcome back to Raw Mike Richards, Sportsnet The Fan 960. Broadcasting from the CIBC Wood Gundy Studios, brought to you by Cassock Wealth Management. We got to hurry. This is going to be a jam-packed show. Pierre McGuire, we've got Clark Judge, Jim Barker going to come in and try to explain to CFL what's happening. Bullets are flying everywhere. It's a circus. But we got to get to the bag. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I implore you, Jimmy the Bag goes on every week, comes out with fire and brimstone. He talked about the people, the shirtless people, the public people who don't deserve to be talked about. He talked about the ridicule. Why? Because that's what they get. They played with the horns, and that's what they got last week. The Dolphins, the Chargers, and that was only part of a 6-1 run. Ladies and gentlemen, Jimmy the Bag.
I'm pumped up, Mike. Very thankful to be here rocking with you and the great province of Alberta. If you believe a team is a great offense because they put up a lot of points against the league's worst defense, don't. They're lying to you. The numbers are lying to you, Mike.
Can't stand liars. Always say that. I've always been against the liars, Jimmy. You know this.
I do. And we're coming off a 6-1 day. Let's get right to work, Mike.
Yes.
We start Huntington Bank Field in Cleveland, Ohio. 65 Fahrenheit, rain showers, 14 mile per hour winds. We not only have been making money fading the Chargers, but we've been then making money fading the teams who have beaten the Chargers, because we know those results aren't real. We know the Chargers are way worse than the numbers indicate. We're doing that here, Mike. We are fading the Dolphins, and we are buying low on the Cleveland Browns. We're taking the Browns minus 2.5. We're also on the first half under 20.5 and full game under 40.5. Not only is there rain showers, but there's 14 mile per hour winds. This Dolphins team is terrible. We couldn't have picked a worse team to cash on than the Miami Dolphins, but it was all predicated on the Chargers being frauds.
Right.
And
it's the matchup. It's not just, I know some people, when they think they're capping, they're just strictly looking at the metrics, which is his numbers. Oh, he catches this. He runs for this. Yeah, that's fine. That has nothing to do with the guys they're playing that week. That's what you're talking about. And I'll be honest, Dylan Gabriel didn't look that bad. I didn't know how he was going to look. He didn't look that bad. So looking at what they've got with Miami coming to town, I love that pick.
Oh, this is heaven on earth here. First half under, full game under, and the Browns minus 2.5. Mike, then we head to Nissan Stadium in Nashville, Tennessee. Patriots, Titans. We have more rain showers. We have more double-digit winds, 12 miles per hour, 14 miles per hour, 20 mile per hour gusts. We have a Patriots offense that has looked good. They look good against New Orleans. And we have a Titans team that just fired their head coach, Brian Callahan. Bill, his pops, left with him. We have Mike McCoy, who used to coach the Chargers in 2013 to 2016, coming in. What does that give us when the new coach comes in? Accountability. It gives us accountability. This defense will be playing more than the sum of their parts. Every single player on this football team will be giving out max effort. I'm on the first half under 20.5. I'm on the full game under 42.5. And I am very close to backing the Titans. I'm not going to give out the Titans as an official pick. I'm still working on it. I still want to see this market marinate, but I'm on the first half under and the full game under, Mike.
What else do we got?
We are buying the Dallas Cowboys low. I was on the Panthers plus 3.5. I faded the Cowboys, but I remember what the Cowboys do at home. That 40-40 tie against the Packers, that was very legitimate. The Washington Commanders are not that good of a football team. We bet against them. We had the Bears, gave out the Bears on this show. We bet against the Commanders. Why? Because their 27-10 win over the Chargers was fraudulent. So then you could have an argument saying, well, shouldn't we then buy the Commanders low here? No, we buy the Cowboys low. Dallas Cowboys, I'm on the +2 at minus 112. My co-host and Bankroll Blitz, Troy Torrance, is on the Cowboys money line. We are in agreement. The Cowboys on Sunday.
Did anyone apologize to you? They were all over you last week about the Dolphins game. Did anyone say, "I am sorry, Jimmy. I shouldn't have said that about you. You were right"?
They have all gone into hiding. They have all gone into hiding. Now, I imagine once they reemerge from the ditch and put the bottle down, they will have an eloquent apology for me.
Yeah. Ditch people now. Boy, there's a lot of people that surround you. The shirtless people, the ditch people. The ditch people have bottles.
Yes. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Finally, Mike, we have another buy low opportunity and sell high opportunity. It is the Detroit Lions. Right now, I'm only on the Lions double result at plus 115. You hear me use the double result a lot. My ROI is excellent with it. A nice plus 115 double result, but I'm close to moving on them on the side as well.
Oh, so nice to get that cash. Speaking of which, in talking about the Puckapalooza, which is DKI Calgary's amazing tournament at the first week of May, if you're wondering about the actual aspect of the team or teams that would participate, this is basically coming from what DKI is defining as competitive, adult, clean, not goofball, goon hockey. So it's a fun thing. It's 3 divisions. There are 14 teams. So each team plays 3 round robin games and a championship final on the Sunday. That's how the hockey part works. So player welcome package when they first get to the game. It's the Flames Community Arenas. It's got one of the best lounges for post-game eats and cold drinks. I think you know what I'm talking about. Also, premium gift package provided by team managers. It's just a lot of fun. And, of course, you get the great trophies. But let's be honest, it's about the Ronald McDonald House Charities, and it's to raise the attempt $100,000 this year.
It's the sports disaster of the week.
Yes, this is generally the part where I talk about a disaster of the week. It's DKI Calgary. But let's go another way this week because I don't really see a huge disaster per se. So let's go anti-disaster because, quite frankly, that's what DKI Calgary does. It's not the disaster part that's the important part. It's the restoration part. It's the rebuilding of lives part. And so if I'm looking for an example, I don't have to look any further than the number 1 draft pick in the NHL this year, Matthew Schaefer, because no one should go through the disaster that he did in his life when he was 17. He lost his mom after a 2-year battle with breast cancer in 2024. But then just 2 months prior to that, his billet mom died in an apparent suicide. And then in December of that same year, Jim Waters, someone I know very, very well, one of the owners of Chum Limited, it's the reason I'm on the air right now. A wonderful family, a wonderful man, owner of the Erie Otters, where Matthew played. He unexpectedly died. That was crushing to me. But all that happened to this young man at that point. And what has he done since that time? He's gone to the Islanders. He has basically resurrected the reputation the Islanders once had. They're already talking Calder Trophy for Matthew Schaefer. What has he done with his own life? Well, this is the restoration part. He has become sort of a spokesperson, working with Smile Zone, a nonprofit foundation. The mission to make tough days brighter for kids receiving treatment in hospitals and healthcare facilities. He visited a kid who hadn't come out in 10 years, apparently, and he came out for Matthew. This is what he has done. By the way, he turns 18 this month. That's restoration. That's rebuilding. And that is a great story. We're going to talk to Pierre McGuire next.
Rob Mike Richards will be right back. Brought to you by Cassock Wealth Management, CIBC Wood Gundy.
For over 40 years, Calgarians have trusted DKI Calgary when disaster strikes. From fires and floods to legendary hailstorms, our all-star team delivers rapid response and proven restoration excellence to residential and commercial customers. As the premier restoration provider in Calgary and Southern Alberta, we're the partner families, businesses, insurers, and property managers count on. When the unexpected happens, trust experience. Trust DKI Calgary, restoring homes, businesses, and peace of mind for more than 4 decades.
Hey Calgary, Ron Tarrant here, the voice and producer of The Raw Mike Richards Show. Each week, I create and produce this broadcast from my specially designed home studio right here in Calgary that Hush City Soundproofing built and created specifically for me. Dude, and this thing is awesome! These guys transformed an existing room in my house, making it the perfect quiet space I use every single day for creating top-tier entertainment you hear around the world daily on TV and radio. Check out my studio on their website at hushcitysp.com, along with countless other soundproofing and acoustic treatment projects they've tackled, like home theater rooms, curbing noisy restaurants, home office projects, all the way to corporate workspaces, and even acoustically treating stadiums. Hush City Soundproofing, creating sound solutions in Calgary and Western Canada as unique as they sound.
Your financial future deserves personalized support. At Cassock Wealth Management with CIBC Wood Gundy, we use a data-driven approach that takes the emotion out of investing to help you stay on track towards reaching your goals. Whether you're growing your portfolio, planning for retirement, or preserving your legacy, our experienced team can provide you with the customized solutions and trusted guidance you need to succeed. Call us at 403-508-3230 or visit our website, www.cassockwealthmanagement.com. Brought to you by Milan Kasich, investment advisor with CIBC Wood Gundy. CIBC Wood Gundy is a division of CIBC World Markets, Inc., a subsidiary of CIBC.
I just wanna have fun, clap my hands, turn around now and dance, dance, dance. I just wanna have fun, clap my hands, turn around now and dance, dance, dance. I just wanna clap, clap, turn around, dance, dance, dance. I just wanna clap, turn around, dance, dance.
Lease the all-new electric Macan from 3.99% up to 42 months, or lease the original 2025 gas-powered Macan from 3.99% up to 42 months, and a 2026 at 4.99% up to 42 months at Porsche Center Calgary. This is the Raw Mike Richards Show, brought to you by Cassock Wealth Management, CIBC Wood Gundy, on Sportsnet 960 The Fan.
Welcome back. Segment 2 of the show. In just a couple of minutes here, we're going to get to our good friend Pierre McGuire, get his read on the start of the season. But first, as always, we do our Spotlight Vehicle of the Week from Porsche Center Calgary, and get a load of this one. Another absolute gorgeous vehicle. This one, the 2025 Porsche Cayenne GTS. The color, you ready for this one, comes in Carmine Red. It's a Cayenne, and it's from Carmine. You go up to him and you say, "Hey, Carmine, what color you got?" He's going to say, "What? Red." Carmine Red, 493 horsepower, a Bose surround sound system, adaptive sports seats in front, that's 18 ways, and seat center in race text. They got the 21-inch RS Spider design wheels in high gloss black, the sports exhaust system, sports chrono package, and the new car warranty is 48 months. Once again, that is the 2025 Porsche Cayenne GTS. That car is mint. You don't take my word for it. Go ask Carmine. From Porsche Center Calgary. Beautiful. As this segment always goes by so quickly, and for those that were listening last week, especially here in Calgary, knowing that the Flames were going to play the Vegas Golden Knights, the way that conversation ended last week was Pierre talking about the Vegas Golden Knights. And so when you take a look at what happened in that game, where I think the coaching staff, what they wanted to do early, I mean, from a tactical standpoint, the Flames did what they really needed to do and probably should have thought they could have got and maybe should have had, but there's no couldas and shouldas in this game. And the Golden Knights walk away with a win this week. And again, watching Eichel out there, it's just some of these guys just have another otherworldly talent. He's one of them. But the question I wanted, because you said they're going to be awfully good, why, since the genesis of them coming into the league, why did they get so good, perform at such a high level so quickly, and maintain that level? How?
Because the Board of Governors played nice with them in the expansion draft. All the other teams in history since 1967 that have come into the draft or into the league were never dealt with fairly in terms of the player pool that was disposable or available to them. Whereas for Vegas, it was very friendly. And the league knew they had to come out of the gate charging. And part of that was because They saw what was going on in Arizona. And it's not that Arizona was a poor team or a poor market. The building was in a bad place. They had a hard time getting traction in the standings. They couldn't develop that unbelievably intense fan base. Vegas knew because it's gambling. There are a lot of Canadians that go down in the winter. They had to have a winning product. So they made the expansion draft very friendly towards them. Now, not many expansion teams get a goalie like Marc-Andre Fleury to start. So he's the face of their franchise. But you have to give a lot of credit to Kelly McCrimmon, and you got to give a ton of credit to George McPhee, because they have always gone full bore to win. Look at the amount of coaches they've had come through that cycle. And it's not because they're bad coaches that they lose their jobs. It's because they haven't got to the top of the mountain. And if you don't get to the top of the mountain there, which is what they expect all the time, you're not going to make it. That's why their roster, unless you're one of the top 4 or 5 guys, look how aggressive they are. They go get Noah Hannafin. They go get Alex Pietrangelo. They make a deal with Anaheim to get Shea Theodore. Like, you go down the line and look at all these things that they've done. It's unbelievable. But George, to his credit, George went after GMs in that expansion year and was unmerciful. And that's what set them onto this path of excellence, which I believe the Vegas Golden Knights are our team of excellence.
You know, and it's rare, Pierre, because, I mean, you do see these blips in different professional sports where there's a beginning, there's a full, philosophically, they're on the same page, but it's for a very short period of time. But as you said, it's almost a relentless nature in which some of the coaches, like, I'll be honest, some of the coaches that have been let go, I'm like, what, are you kidding me? Look at their record. Because these guys are going out the door and they're being hired in a matter of seconds. They're so good. It's very rare. So it's I guess also the continuity between ownership and what needs to be done in hockey operations. Why is that so rare? Why is it rare?
Because Mr. Foley knows what he knows, the owner there, and he's an amazingly intense man, and he's been unbelievably successful in all his other enterprises, including the wine business, where people don't even know the Foley family of wines is massive. It's not just this little entity from Napa. It's all over the world. It's in New Zealand. It's in South Africa. It's in France. It's in California. It's massive, Mike. Massive. I've had the honor and privilege of talking to Mr. Foley. His business enterprises are massive. But he's about one thing in those too. It's about winning. I'll never forget him saying to me once, he says, Pierre, I've been very fortunate. I've owned a lot of properties all over the world. He goes, but my vineyards in New Zealand are maybe as good or better than any that I own anywhere. I don't even know his wine from New Zealand. But the point is that he pays attention to everything. So you got an owner that pays attention to everything. You've got a president of hockey operations that's a winner, George McPhee. He's played in the league. He went to law school. He knows how to negotiate contracts. He knows how the difference between a character player and a skilled player. Sometimes people don't even know that. Kelly McCrimmon's been an owner in Major Junior. He's plugged into the Western Hockey League as well or better than anybody. And so they've got everything going for them. And like I said, they don't play nice. They play fair. They don't play nice.
Yeah, and there's a difference. We're in conversation with the Pierre Maguire here on Sportsnet 960, The Fan, Raw, Mike Richards. Watching the opening, because there's, a whole bunch of them across the league, obviously, this time of year, and watching the Canadiens and what they did with the silhouette, with the mask on top of the net. And there's just something, as you know, very special about that franchise that everybody recognizes. Even if you were in Toronto and that's your nemesis, you look at how they do things to do with the alumni and just with heritage and history. No one does it better. And at the same time, watching Hudson and Demidov and Caulfield out there, I thought I was watching the Globetrotters. I mean, this is a throwback to, my God, these guys are magicians and they're young.
So they're set up for a long run. People don't even know Michael Hayes at the University of Michigan. People don't even know Jacob Fowler in the American Hockey League. A lot of people don't know a lot of their top prospects down in Laval in the American League. They're stacked and loaded. So the real superstars behind the scenes there are Adam Nicholas, who's in charge of player development, Nicky Bobroff, who's in charge of European scouting, Marty Lapointe, who lives in Florida but is in charge of all their North Americans operations. Mike, they have become a well-oiled machine the way the Canadians were in the 50s, the 60s, and the 70s. The draft rules have changed, no question. They don't get the first 2 best Quebec-born players in the draft. but they've identified the need to be a global brand. So they've gone out, they've attacked Sweden, they've attacked Finland, they've attacked Russia. They're really plugged into St. Petersburg. That's where Demidov's from. So Nicky Bobrov, Russian-based oil and family gene pool, knows what he's doing. And so they've been really good, Mike. And here's the thing. You said it best. Last night wasn't just a celebration of the great Montreal Canadiens brand. It was a celebration of how great they are in terms of acknowledging legacy. They are better than any pro sports team in the world when it comes to recognizing legacy. They deserve so much credit for that performance last night.
Also, Pierre, in Calgary, our friends to the north, which of course, being sarcastic here, but they go into to New York, and I'm looking at the Rangers, and we just talked about how organizations make things work, and how efficient it can be, and I look at what the Rangers, the potential each and every year, and the expectation of what that organization probably thinks they're going to see, and I'm a little tied to it. Here's a strange story. I'm sure you don't know. So Sam Carrick is a Stouffville boy. I grew up with his
tough as nails, by the way.
Yeah, tough as nails. His father not. I went to school with John and Jade, and my dad taught all of them. My dad, yeah, I don't think he taught Sam, but he did teach John and Jane. So I've known this family for a very long time, and of course, when he played for the Leafs, that was a big deal for the whole town in Stouffville and so on. He has done it the hard way, as you said. This boy has done it the hard way. Talented guy, but he's on a team right now where, I mean, they haven't scored a goal in their first 3 home games to start that. And I'm looking at, and I'm just, Shesterkin can only stop so many pucks. This is getting, I mean, we're so early in the season, and already, if I'm a Rangers fan, I'm starting to grit my teeth a little bit already.
So there's a couple things. One, it's a great coaching staff, but coaches can't score goals. That's number one. Number two, there's a malfunction at the junction there. It goes back to last year. How do you go to the Eastern Conference Final the year before, and last year you don't make the playoffs, and basically you had the same team? So what happened in the offseason? You treated Jacob Trouba poorly. You moved him to Anaheim. You traded Capo Caco poorly. You traded him to Seattle. You treated Chris Kreider, who's the leader, the bona fide leader of your team, poorly, and now he's in Anaheim. So there's a malfunction at the junction there. I know JT Miller really well as a person. He's a good player and he's a good leader. But you gave up a really good asset in Filipino, who's younger, who's now in Vancouver. So you start looking at all the moves. Everybody in New York was bragging about how great their offseason was and how they were going to be a better team and they were going to do this and they were going to do that. And a big part of it was predicated on the coaching staff that they hired. And I kept saying, Mike, and I know I said it to you, they think they did a good job shopping this summer. They didn't shop enough. And I could see that going into the season. Now, that doesn't mean they're not going to eventually get going here, because I think they will be better. But Mike, to lay an egg 3 times on Broadway, if you were a Broadway show, you'd be canceled by now. You'd be canceled.
That is a great way of putting it. Pierre, thanks so much for this morning. Again, it goes by very quickly, but what great stuff. Thanks so much. I always appreciate it.
It's always a pleasure and a privilege to be with the great Mike Richards.
Raw Mike Richards will be right back. Brought to you by Cassock Wealth Management, CIBC Wood Gundy.
I just wanna have fun, clap my hands, turn around now and dance, dance, dance. I just wanna have fun, clap my hands, turn around now and dance, dance, dance. I just wanna clap, clap, turn around, dance, dance, dance. I just wanna clap, turn around, dance, dance.
Lease the all-new electric Macan from 3.99% up to 42 months, or lease the original 2025 gas-powered Macan from 3.99% up to 42 months, and a 2026 at 4.99% up to 42 months at Porsche Center Calgary.
Your financial future deserves personalized support. At Cassock Wealth Management with CIBC Wood Gundy, we use a data-driven approach that takes the emotion out of investing to help you stay on track towards reaching your goals. Whether you're growing your portfolio, planning for retirement, or preserving your legacy, our experienced team can provide you with the customized solutions and trusted guidance you need to succeed. Call us at 403-508-3230 or visit our website, www.cassocwealthmanagement.com.
Brought to you by Milan Kasich, investment advisor with CIBC Wood Gundy. CIBC Wood Gundy is a division of CIBC World Markets, Inc., a subsidiary of CIBC.
For over 40 years, Calgarians have trusted DKI Calgary when disaster strikes. From fires and floods to legendary hailstorms, our all-star team delivers rapid response and proven restoration excellence to residential and commercial customers. As the premier restoration provider in Calgary and Southern Alberta, we're the partner families, businesses, insurers, and property managers count on. When the unexpected happens, trust experience. Trust DKI Calgary, restoring homes, businesses, and peace of mind for more than 4 decades.
This is the Raw Mike Richards Show, brought to you by Cassock Wealth Management, CIBC Wood Gundy, on Sportsnet 960 The Fan.
The NFL this year, and it seems like I start the same conversation off week after week about not really knowing where it's going. But there is one consistent for me, Clark Judge of the Talk of Fame Network, who I'm talking to right now. I realize from a business standpoint that the NFL wants to be global. This is why they've had NFL games in Europe for all these years and the London game. But for the love of God, for me, most of the time, 80% of those games are almost unwatchable. They have matchups that are so weird, and I get that they come. I know because my wife and son were in Swansea, Wales. They had to take a train the same day as they were playing football in London, and guys have the inflatable hats on. But Clark, is it just me, or are these games just so painful to watch? It's just 3 hours of
Yeah, I don't watch them. They are painful. I generally watch maybe the last 5 minutes, and they go, "Oh, wait a minute, yeah, it's a 10-7 game. I don't need to see this." But I think for the fans over there, it's an event, right? It's an event. It's a chance to put on all that paraphernalia once a year and go to those games twice a year, whatever how many games they're going to then for their particular team. Now I know there are lots more games than that, but if you're living in that particular area, it gives you a chance to dress yourself up like a Buffalo Bill fan or some Bills Mafia. But yeah, and they generally are not great matchups, and one of the reasons is the Jaguars are involved many times. Until this year, the Jaguars haven't been any good, really. So you're getting sort of second-tier teams, and it's second-tier or third-tier play. So I agree with you. And Mike, a lot of that has to do also with the travel. The travel involved and travel back and forth. I mean, the NFL's trying to cash checks. That's what they're doing. But I think it's at the cost of play.
So in all the years that I couldn't imagine how many owners you've talked to in your career, but
Too many.
There is this sense and this constant, I wouldn't say rhetoric, but the language seems to be about global football. Like if it was in Mexico or Mexico City, I kind of get that. If you're talking about Pacific Coast teams, it's not that far. But do they realistically think that in his schedule, it would be conceivable that there could be a team in London? Because I
think only, Mike, if you have a league over there. I don't think anyone in his right mind thinks that we could have the London Stallions in a league with 32 teams from the mainland. And so that, you're traveling 6-7 hours. Well, you're going from London to LA to play the Rams. No, I think it has to be either like a European division, something like that, or a European league. I don't think that is going to fly. But I know what Goodell has said and others have said. I think that's to preach to the masses. Hopefully, you're preaching to the choir. Yeah, you want it? Wait, we're thinking about it. Are you going to do it? Of course they're not. No, not unless there's a drastic change. Roger talked about maybe we'd put a Super Bowl in London or overseas. You think that's going to happen? No way. They wouldn't allow it here. The owners would not allow it, nor would the fans. But he's saying it to sort of mollify those people, put the carrot out there. It ain't going to happen. It's chance of that happening like Mideast peace. I mean, it's not going to happen.
We're in conversation with Clark Judge from the Talk of Fame Network here on Sportsnet 960 The Fan, Raw, Mike Richards. Every year it seems like, and I guess you could say in the media where there's the media sweetheart of the year or the one that they focus on or it's the real story. I don't know how big a story it is, but Jackson Smith and Jigba is an absolute machine. I am stunned at how many yards and what he does. To me, if I'm looking at all the elite receivers and maybe he's not the media sweetheart, but boy, people should get that microscope out then because this guy's unbelievable.
Yeah, I think he's not the media sweetheart from this standpoint. He plays in Seattle, right? So we don't see a lot of him there. But when you hear anything about him, people are falling over themselves. And now you know why. If you look at his stats, they're astounding. He should be a media sweetheart. If they had more exposure, I think he would be. Let's say if he played New York and LA, someplace like that, Kansas City, teams that get a lot of TV and they're broadcast by everyone. But I think being with the Seahawks, I don't see that much of them. I mean, I certainly see them in the red zone, but I don't see them on other telecasts generally. So I don't know much about him. I thought the guy you were going to talk about was Baker Mayfield. I mean, he's the guy everyone's falling over themselves with, and I think for the right reasons. Yeah, what an astounding year. And the Cleveland Browns gave up on him. Daniel Jones is another one people are falling all over themselves over. Well, it's because they play that position, right? They play the quarterback position, the most important position. Plus, they've also resurrected themselves. People love those stories. They love the feel-good stories of the guy who comes back from the dead. You were cut by the Browns. Forget you let the Browns let you go. And nobody wanted him, right? You know, and Carolina. And so now you look at someone like Mayfield, someone like Daniel Jones. He couldn't make it with the Giants. Are you kidding me? They let him go. But I think in reference to the wide receiver from Seattle, I it's funny, I can't pronounce his last name.
Njigba. Yeah.
Njigba. But he's special. If he were with someone else, as I said, a high profile team, and maybe this is the year people finally catch on to him, because if you're a fantasy football player, I know if you're a fantasy football player, you look at this and go, this guy's a machine. Yeah. He is. He's a machine. Yeah. So, I think you're right. But I don't think he's a media darling simply because, not for anything he's not doing, simply because he's not in the right place at the right time.
It's interesting, Daniel Jones, because the Colts have the Chargers, and the Colts right now, I just mentioned off the air about a story about a guy who showed up in a car that was held together by duct tape and was backfiring and so on.
That was me.
I'm starting to feel that way about the Chargers, where, Jimmy the Bag said, you got to take those last week, take the points with Miami. He goes, I know everyone's going to be in the Chargers, but you have to realize how many players are missing from that Chargers team, how thin they are. And so, of course, that's another win for Jimmy the Bag. But now you got the Colts, and they've still got the Chargers -1.5. Now, we haven't talked to the Bag yet. But I guarantee you he's going to be on the Colts, because they know what they're doing, and I think they're very efficient at what they do. I think they're very consistent. And I don't have a ton of faith in the Chargers right now. I really don't.
I don't either. And two things come to mind when you mentioned that. A friend of mine once said that the quarterback reminds him of Drew Bledsoe. Got all the talent in the world and just can't win the big game. I love Drew Bledsoe. Great guy to deal with, and he had a productive career. But, in the end, Brady replaced him for the right reasons. I mean, Bledsoe had a near-death experience, really a life-threatening experience, and went on for some success with Buffalo. But do you really trust him in the big game? And the answer is no. And Herbert, do you really trust him? He just seems to me to have a guy who had all the promise in the world, and it's never really been realized. Secondly, when you mention about the Chargers and all the injuries, think of the number of teams that are saying that. You look at the Buffalo secondary. You look at the Detroit secondary. Buffalo's got injuries galore. Offensive linemen are missing with some of these teams. And that's, to me, is a symptom of a bigger problem, Mike, and something we can dive into at some other point. But I once had an offensive line, it was John Hanna, actually, from the Patriots, say, when I was playing, we had 6 preseason games. I love that. You know why? Because it got you conditioned for what you're about to go into. They basically don't play preseason now. They have 3 games. A lot of these guys don't even play. So when they go into the regular season, it's kind of like preseason, and now these guys are dropping like flies. And so I look at the Chargers. Yeah, I'd take the Colts too, but I like to hear what Jimmy has to say.
Yeah, we all like to hear what
we all
Jimmy,
like to hear it.
Yeah. Clark, thanks so much for this week. Always a pleasure. We'll do it again next week.
Habs hat for that Ken Dryden celebration.
Absolutely. Beautiful.
Raw Mike Richards will be right back. Brought to you by Cassock Wealth Management, CIBC Wood Gundy.
For over 40 years, Calgarians have trusted DKI Calgary when disaster strikes. From fires and floods to legendary hailstorms, our all-star team delivers rapid response and proven restoration excellence to residential and commercial customers. As the premier restoration provider in Calgary and Southern Alberta, we're the partner families, businesses, insurers, and property managers count on. When the unexpected happens, trust experience. Trust DKI Calgary, restoring homes, businesses, and peace of mind for more than 4 decades.
Hey Calgary, Ron Tarrant here, the voice and producer of The Raw Mike Richards Show. Each week, I create and produce this broadcast from my specially designed home studio right here in Calgary that Hush City Soundproofing built and created specifically for me. Dude, and this thing is awesome! These guys transformed an existing room of my house, making it the perfect quiet space I use every single day for creating top-tier entertainment you hear around the world daily on TV and radio. Check out my studio on their website at hushcitysp.com, along with countless other soundproofing and acoustic treatment projects they've tackled, like home theater rooms, curbing noisy restaurants, home office projects, all the way to corporate workspaces, and even acoustically treating stadiums. Hush City Soundproofing, creating sound solutions in Calgary and Western Canada as unique as they sound.
Every once in a while, I don't mind a sarnie. Know what I mean? A sandwich with Italian salami. I go see my good friend Tony. He owns Spilumbo's. 13089 9th Ave Southeast, to be precise. I say, oi, Tony, how about one of them salami deals? And he says, I don't think so. You never paid for the last one. And I said, I don't recall that. And he says, well, I do. Okay, I says, I'll be back, but I'll be watching. I'm always watching.
Spilumbo's, fine foods and deli, 1308 9th Ave Southeast. Fun for the whole family.
This is the Raw Mike Richards Show, brought to you by Cassock Wealth Management, CIBC Wood Gundy, on Sportsnet 960 The Fan.
Well, this is it, man. This is, you get to this time of year in the CFL. Now, normally it can be goofy anyways, but this is like, just get out the crowbar between these two teams, because I don't know. But as we have Jim Barker, our good friend, no one knows more about football, and you know who agrees with us? You just heard him on the show probably about half an hour ago. My good friend Pierre McGuire. He was asking all these questions. I said, well, you know, I got Jim Barker. He goes, you have Jim Barker? You tell he's the best football guy you could have got. That guy is up there, man. He goes, I got to tell you. He goes, see, that is just extraordinary that you have him on your show. And I said, well, he is extraordinary. He is the man. And if I'm going to talk to someone about this weekend about what in God's name is going on in this league, maybe you can tell me, because the minute you kind of think you got it figured out, you got to sort of reassess. And I'll tell you what, as much as we love to make fun of Edmonton here in Calgary, they were like a really very good football team that just didn't have some of the numbers. If they're the worst team, and I guess you could argue the Red Blacks, but Edmonton, it looked like this year, unless I'm wrong, got some pieces in there. They're not that far off, Jim. It's not a dumpster fire up there.
Not at all. Not at all. I think their players are good. They got a new coaching staff. That took a while. J.C. Sherritt, his first year as a coordinator. But they're playing very well. I mean, it took them a while to get it together. Mark Killam, his first job as a head coach. But no, they're playing a huge part. I mean, they play the BC Lions this week and Calgary next week. They have a lot to say about what's going to happen, whether they're in it or not in it. If they happen to win this weekend against the BC Lions, they throw the whole thing into a upside down, topsy-turvy. So, but it's every game this weekend. Winnipeg, opening with Saskatchewan. That's normally you say, well, Saskatchewan has already won it, so they're going to be playing the Jake Meyer group and not really the true Saskatchewan Roughriders. But it's Saskatchewan going into Winnipeg is just, again, this is where the Grey Cup's going to be. Now, I'm not going to say this could be a Grey Cup preview. It would be the answer to Wade Miller's prayers. Because I would like 1/1000th of the beer tab at that stadium if it happens to be Saskatchewan against Winnipeg. But it's possible that can happen. So Saskatchewan, in terms of the way, again, they're just going to be very basic. Winnipeg has to win. Yeah. And they're the team in this with only 8 wins. The other teams have 9, but they have the tiebreaker on BC, not on Calgary. So it's complex. But this game tonight is very important. Both games, obviously. If Winnipeg wins and then BC gets beat by Edmonton, I mean, you're talking about an absolute next week. Calgary and Edmonton, again, Calgary plays Toronto this week, and Toronto's in that, that Ottawa red black, it means nothing kind of situation, and they're looking at players and that type of thing. I do say Ryan Dinwiddie will have them somewhat ready to play because I just think he's just done a great job considering what he's been up against in terms of losing his starting quarterback. And then like I say, Arbuckle played, people talked about him as MOP, and he just couldn't win games. And I guess that's not a criteria anymore.
Let's talk about the Stampeders because they go into Hamilton, and this is what I love about the league. And you know this better than anybody else when you start looking at player personnel, and this Choquette comes in. And, the league has always been filled with these names like, I'm sorry, who is that? Are you talking about Diedrich Mills? No, I'm not talking about Diedrich Mills. And they pounded the ball. This is old school. This is about, A gap and B, this is a really simplified football when you can pound it. And you're a longtime football guy. You don't sometimes see that a lot in the CFL, but boy, did they make Hamilton pay for it on the ground.
I think you're seeing it more and more. You're seeing teams that are physical, that can run the ball when they want to run it. It's what Winnipeg's had the last 5 years they've gone. They've been able to run it when they want to run it. Calgary is at that point now, one of the best offensive line coaches in the league, and Pat just does a fantastic job with those guys. They move them around because they've been banged up and hurt. They lost Demery, then they lost Coker in the game. Zach Williams bumps out to play left tackle. They do things like that. And then they draft Ludovic Choquette, who I had as the best running back in this draft. I thought I was shocked he lasted till the 6th round because he reminds me a lot of Daniel Adeboboye that's in Ottawa now, but was a great player for us in Toronto the year I was there. And he's just a great special team. And this Choquette is very similar. We played at Long Island. Now, you've never even known Long Island had a team, do you?
Well, you're talking to a gambler, so...
They played Miami. I think they played Miami or Florida this year. So, he's just a tough, great Canadian running back. Because when you have a guy like him, you don't have to dress 2 Americans, which is really important for the ratio. Where Calgary has been struggling the last 4 weeks was on defense. And ever since they lost Flo Remalade, I mean, he's what stirs the drink. I mean, I said that about, you look at all the Edmonton D linemen came from Toronto, where we had the best defensive line in the league. But a lot of it was because of Flo. Flo makes every guy on that line better. But they're starting to get it. And Hicks is playing better on the edge. And, the Hudgens is getting his feel inside. So, the kid Markel Lee is back playing inside linebacker and sent Adam Bighill to the bench, which is there's something to be said for that.
Yeah.
So Calgary playing defense, I think, gives them a huge shot.
We're in conversation with Jim Barker here on Sportsnet 960 The Fan on Raw Mike Richards. It can't be overstated or understated, I guess, depending on how you look at it with the quarterback position. Davis Alexander comes back, and it just, it's a universal game changer. And so typical of this league where it goes one way for maybe a month, you could have 4 games, 5 games where you look at it and people want to throw dirt on top of you and say it's over. And now you're taking a look at this Montreal Alouette team. You're like, are they the best team in the East? Because they might be.
Yeah. And, it's really interesting. So next week they play in Winnipeg. Now, it could be a game Winnipeg has to win. Should they lose this week and they play, they may have to win that game. For Montreal, Hamilton has a bye this week. So Hamilton plays first next week, okay? And they play Ottawa, which is like the free space on the bingo card this year.
Right.
But again, they play Ottawa. If they win that, they win the division, because they have the tiebreaker on Montreal. But if they don't win that game, and Montreal can go in and they'll go into Winnipeg, and that game could determine which team, whether Winnipeg stays in the West or goes to the East, and whether they play. If they were to win, they would play in Montreal. But if they were to lose and Montreal won, there's a possibility that they're going to Hamilton. So there's so many unbelievable things. And, I've played it out, how I think things are going to go. And I think Winnipeg's going to be the crossover team playing in Montreal. So now that makes next week's game, whether it means something or not, that's a preview because the next week they're playing in the semifinals. So it's like a return game. And that's always tough when you play a team and then you play them again. What are we going to show? This game doesn't really mean anything. And, but it does. It could it probably will. Could very easily for both teams.
Well, there's nothing more sort of, to me, definitive in sort of trying to figure out this year when I take a look at the BC Lions, because I know I'm surprised you have hair left after you watch the BC Lions play, because it's like, is someone going to make a tackle out there? And then Nathan Work shows up and goes, "Oh, don't worry about it, fellas. I'll just find a way to get it to the end zone anyway." It is a 3-ring circus. I think I find it, in my football mind, very difficult to win a championship that way, or to be consistently a difficult team to play, because even though they have the record they do, they're not a difficult team to play. It's a head scratcher.
Well, I think they're evolving, Mike, and I think if you watch them close, 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, they added a guy named Levi Bell and one of those Hawaiian names that I can't pronounce.
No one can.
From BYU, one of the one of those, the Mormon Samoans, that all they do is beat the hell out of you. They're 310 pounds and they run like the wind. Anyway, they added those two guys to their defensive front, and they've been a different team. They've been a different team now. They pressure the quarterback. They play at a physical level now. It's amazing the change that it's made, but they just needed to get a couple of ballers inside. Yeah. I give Ryan Rigmaiden credit for not giving up. And in terms of, that team, you could throw your hands up. 1 week they're okay, and then the next week they're terrible. And, Mike Benavides taking a lot of heat. But, again, you have to have a certain – I go back to what Mike Holmgren told me. He goes, "Jim, I've been in this thing a long time. I had Brett Favre. I couldn't win a Super Bowl. It was when I got Reggie White, and he made that whole defensive line better, that we finally won, because that's where you win, is pressuring the passer and stopping the running game. And BC Lions are now doing that."
That is Jim Barker joins us here this morning. Coach, thanks so much for this morning. Just a lot to cover in that last 10 minutes, but you do a beautiful job as always. And as Pierre McGuire says, you can't do better than that guy. And
you can't do better than Pierre when it comes to hockey.
Raw Mike Richards will be right back. Brought to you by Cassock Wealth Management, CIBC Wood Gundy.
I just wanna have fun, clap my hands, turn around now and dance, dance, dance. I just wanna have fun, clap my hands, turn around now and dance, dance, dance. I just wanna clap, clap, turn around, dance, dance, dance. I just wanna clap, turn around, dance, dance.
Lease the all-new electric Macan from 3.99% up to 42 months, or lease the original 2025 gas-powered Macan from 3.99% up to 42 months, and a 2026 at 4.99% up to 42 months at Porsche Center Calgary.
New Vista Homes has been listening to homeowners, trade partners, and employees. Listening to take a good thing and make it better. That's why they're excited to unveil something big this spring. The gift of new options, new prices, new floor plans. Everything to make your experience with New Vista Homes even more enjoyable. New Vista Homes. Excitement is building. Learn more at newvistahomes.com.
For over 40 years, Calgarians have trusted DKI Calgary when disaster strikes. From fires and floods to legendary hailstorms, our all-star team delivers rapid response and proven restoration excellence to residential and commercial customers. As the premier restoration provider in Calgary and Southern Alberta, we're the partner families, businesses, insurers, and property managers count on. When the unexpected happens, trust experience. Trust DKI Calgary, restoring homes, businesses, and peace of mind for more than 4 decades.
This is the Raw Mike Richards Show, brought to you by Cassock Wealth Management, CIBC Wood Gundy, on Sportsnet 960 The Fan.
Welcome back. Final segment of the show. Raw Mike Richards broadcasting live from the CIBC Wood Gundy studios. Thanks to Cassick Wealth Management, our good friends. Jim Barker sort of laid it on the line. Boy, what a weekend we've had here, CFL-wise. And we still have another weekend to go. So we'll figure out exactly who's playing where and who's playing who. Isn't this the classic CFL or what? The other thing that has come up, and this is with teams that are no longer in it, of course, it generally tends to be that kind of conversation. It's the one thing in this modern day and age of professional sport, and it's not that new. I mean, you can go back probably almost 15 years, going back probably to the Scott Boras, Steven Strasburg sort of shock of when you take a pitcher out of the game when he seems to be sailing, and at that point, you realize that just the influence that you have from player agents and its impact on professional sport. No, there wasn't an awareness before that time, but boy, it has sure changed the way a lot of the way that the game is played and that those that own teams negotiate with those players. Scott Boras at the front and center of that. Now, a recent example would probably be Skubal being taken out of the Mariners series. If you go back to that moment where many felt that Skubal, who is one of the most, if not the most dominant pitcher right now, why was he taken out at 99 pitches when they felt that probably getting into the sort of the middle of the lineup for the Mariners, that he probably still had at least one more inning in him? And should he even be on the edge of running out of the tank of gas, that his edge of tank of gas is still better than almost anybody else's. But that is load management. That is the world that we live in. You live and you die by that. So as much as maybe I'm old school and, you know, you get a cut, you rub some dirt in it, that kind of stuff. The reality is, if you don't play by that metric now, that is how many pitches, how many minutes a guy's playing on the ice, on the court, then you are going to get into a world where it's like, well, what happens further down the season? For instance, a Kawhi Leonard. If there hadn't been load management for the Toronto Raptors, there's no way Kawhi Leonard would have been available for the playoffs. It's hard to stomach at times because the problem with that is, and this is more of an older school ethical way of looking at it, that it's somehow become a badge of honor for a lot of those players in those different leagues. The badge of honor is, I'm so valuable that I don't have to play. That I'm so good that they are saving me, therefore I'm getting less ice time. I'm getting less court time. I don't have to throw as many pitches. It is hard to get your head around that. But in the monies that are made by these teams, and virtually what they end up paying these players, how do you then roll the dice on that? The reality is Skubal probably was on the edge of as far as he could go. What else can he do? He struck out 13 guys. Their biggest problem? Their bats. They didn't have any offense. Just how much do you expect this guy to do? So for people laying it on Skubal for not going further than he did after his 99 pitches, simply you're not getting that kind of math, nor are you understanding what that relationship changes as they go into what should be an extension or a new contract. Because the Tigers would be insane to not re-sign him for whatever that money's going to be. And if you look at what Yamamoto got in Los Angeles, then you have to figure he's going to be in that Yamamoto, Garrett Cole, $325 million, $350. It's going to be in there somewhere because he's actually worth it. To burn out a player, I do understand. It is how the game is played now. And I said, I go back to the Scott Boras era of Steven Strasburg with load management. I may not like it, but if you don't do it, you run the risk of a couple things. Number one, burning out that player. And number two, with player agents having the influence that they do, there would simply be some teams that if it's deemed that they're not that player friendly, that they don't respect that part of the game, as a player agent, my player is not going to your team and he ain't playing for you. Kind of sucks a little bit, but it is the reality of professional sport. You're listening to Raw Mike Richards, Sportsnet Fan 960. Well, as you know, on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, if you look for Raw Mike Richards on Twitter or X, Instagram, we also have the YouTube channel now, Spotify. We have picks and props, Raw Mike Richards picks and props. Part of that As I said, you hear some people, sometimes they're on the show, sometimes it's guys who aren't on the show who join us for different kinds of picks. Maybe it's CFL picks, college football, NFL props. It all depends. So you got to find out because there's some good stuff going on and some weird celebrities. Maybe some people you haven't heard from in a while. You know, like Bob Obilovich making picks. He made a real mistake this week as he didn't give the Calgary Stampeders a lot of respect in Hamilton. Right, Obi?
Let me tell you something. The Calgary Stampeders got themselves in a little bit of trouble, and now they go to Hamilton where every game counts, and it's going to be a tough one there. So I'm looking at their running back. That's the Ticats. Greg Bell's probably going to have a good day. 68.5 yards. I'm going to take the over. And that Keandre Smith for 60 yards receiving. Bo Levi Mitchell's going to get that ball out. Sorry, I have something in my throat. I got to clear my throat here for a second. There, that's better. And Jalen Philpott for the Stamps. He's done a good job all year when he's healthy. 55.5 yards. I'm going to take the over on that. That pays a 5.18. Also in the Argos in Saskatchewan, the Argos are in a world of trouble. They really suck now. And with that kid at quarterback, it's going to get even worse because Saskatchewan really wants that home playoff game. So I'm going to take it -6.5. That's an alternative spread. I like to do alternative things, if you know what I mean. Also, Trevor Harris, I got him for 275 plus throwing. And A.J. Ouellette for 70-plus yards rushing. He can do that. That guy's a bowling ball. And finally, Keyshawn Johnson for over 68.5 yards. But not that Keyshawn. That was a good one. That is almost 11 times your money. I never made that kind of money when I coached for the Argos. Back to you, numbnuts.
Oh, I love the respect I get on this show. Now, someone who has made his name on this show back in the day where it was Mike Richards in the morning on The Fan. That's right, the biggest numbers in Canada. The fake Jim Rome was a huge part of that. And he was back this past week on Raw Mike Richards Picks and Props. Had a pretty good run. In fact, the fake Jim Rome, he ran the board.
I'm just going to give you the goods for tonight's game between the Eagles and the Giants, who probably should think very shortly of changing their name. Let's start with Devontae Smith with 4 receptions. Not that hard to figure out. And A.J. Brown will do the same, also with 4 catches. Jackson Dart will probably get his obligatory 25 yards just before they get blown out by the Eagles. Saquon Barkley will get 2 catches. Is he going to run? He probably could. He probably should. He might even break 100 yards. But if you're trying to win money, let's go with the 2 catches. Devontae Smith will also get 40 yards. Not a big deal. And Cam Scatabo, who I like, and people are like, whoa, dude, is it Scatabo or Scataboo? Nobody cares, but he will get 40 yards tonight. That's a 5.76 times your money. Almost 6 times whatever you put down.
Oh, who could it be this week? Once again, that's Raw Mike Richards Picks and Props. Find me on all social media outlets, including Instagram, Spotify, and you can go to the Raw Mike Richards YouTube channel. I'd like to thank everyone who joined us here this week. Fabulous show, Pierre McGuire, money as always. We also talked to Clark Judge in the continuing saga of the NFL. Do you like the games in London? Because I was done with them a long time ago, and I think I'm done with them now. And finally, Jim Barker talking about what a crazy finish we're going to have in the CFL. What else is new? Make sure you follow us on our podcast platforms as well. Anywhere you find a podcast, you're going to find me. We'll see you next week.
Na. Hey. Adios.
The Raw Mike Richards Show. Executive producer, Ron Tarrant. For sponsorship inquiries, contact pureproduction@live.ca. Catch up on previous episodes and stream The Raw Mike Richards Show now, wherever you get your podcasts.
For over 40 years, Calgarians have trusted DKI Calgary when disaster strikes. From fires and floods to legendary hailstorms, our all-star team delivers rapid response and proven restoration excellence to residential and commercial customers. As the premier restoration provider in Calgary and Southern Alberta, we're the partner families, businesses, insurers, and property managers count on. When the unexpected happens, trust experience. Trust DKI Calgary, restoring homes, businesses, and peace of mind for more than 4 decades.
Hey Calgary, Ron Tarrant here, the voice and producer of The Raw Mike Richards Show. Each week, I create and produce this broadcast from my specially designed home studio right here in Calgary that Hush City Soundproofing built and created specifically for me. Dude, and this thing is awesome! These guys transformed an existing room of my house, making it the perfect quiet space I use every single day for creating top-tier entertainment you hear around the world daily on TV and radio. Check out my studio on their website at hushcitysp.com, along with countless other soundproofing and acoustic treatment projects they've tackled, like home theater rooms, curbing noisy restaurants, home office projects, all the way to corporate workspaces, and even acoustically treating stadiums. Hush City Soundproofing, creating sound solutions in Calgary and Western Canada as unique as they sound.
When it catches your eye around Calgary, chances are we made it. Modern Plate and Label manufactures industrial labels and decals, stainless steel valve tags, engraved lamecoids for electrical, plumbing, and industrial needs. With a dedicated commitment to quality service at competitive prices, we soar above the competition and strive for perfection. Locally creative, locally manufactured. Visit modernplateandlabel.com today.